So, guys, I'm back in Cape Town again. Landed today, and it was good to look up at the sky, just breathing some fresh air. Different air to Joburg, of course. Well, at least that's how it felt to me. But it's good to be back in Cape Town and be back to our live schedule as usual. So this is going to be the first one of many. Um, they Going into this, obviously, I'm going to need to monitor how we're going to do these live shows for the ODIs. It's going to be quite tricky um, with regards to getting them up in time, but we will do them as soon as the games are done, probably directly after each game is done. But this is our preview show for the ODI series as a whole. There's a lot to discuss in today's show, guys, because there's Rob's press conference. I took a couple of clips that I thought was important and that we can speak about on this particular show. So I'll be playing you those clips as well. And we'll also go through the teams that have been selected, or the two squads that have been selected for this particular team. It's actually the same squad. The second squad just has extra players in it to deepen the squad a little bit more. Um, and the hardest part for us, that's going to be how to pick teams for the conditions for each ODI in each venue. It's something that we're going to have to discuss because if Rob is anything like Shukri, which we are starting to get that type of idea, then we're going to have to pick teams according to conditions and not pick on sentiment, which is something very difficult for us as fans to always do. But yeah, before we get going, before we get started with today's show, please subscribe to the channel. Please click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Also, if you want to help us grow and promote South African cricket, please become a patron today. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. This will also help us as a company grow so that we can help the rest of South African cricket grow as well. Also, would love you guys to smash that like button, please, if you're watching this video. Comment and share when you can. The smashing the like button is the first thing you guys will all do as soon as you join the show. It really helps us in the algorithms, etc., and to get our videos to spread around the world. And then go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates and all of those type of things that you need to find on a daily basis, your daily cricket content. Besides our YouTube channel, go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates. So, without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we're going to be talking about everything that has to do with the West Indian ODI series. That's upon us very, very soon. There is going to be a couple of matches that are going to be played, of course, but not in the regular venues. This is the fixture list. We're going to be playing at Buffalo Park in East London on Thursday at 1. So that's why I said, guys, it's going to be a little bit later shows for us because we're going to have to obviously go live directly after the game. And then the second ODI as well as Buffalo Park at 1. And then the third ODI will be in Potchefstroom on Tuesday, 21st of March. So this Thursday, we'll be having the first ODI. And I'm sure you guys are all going to be watching it because we're quite interested to see how Robbie's going to start his tenure. I'm interested as well to see what he can do and if he can put some of the things that he had to say in action. He did give a press conference recently. In fact, slap bang between the two games against the West Indies in the Test arena. Rob did his interview with Enoch Nkwe, and it's something that we are also going to talk about on this particular show, because it's very important that we do give you guys opportunity to watch it with us and see us react to it and us react to it together as well, because there were a couple of things that were said that were very interesting, and that's something that I feel that we need to go over and discuss as well. But let me just see how you guys are doing as well. We always normally do that at the start of the show. Now I've tried to change things around because I've noticed that you guys are enjoying the fact that we are actually talking to you guys and discussing things with you guys and your comment section. Because I don't want to completely do something quickly before we get started. Um, I just want to do this quickly because I think it's better if we actually go through the entire video together and discuss everything and see how things have developed in here. Let's just do this like that. Hope it does stay quickly while I'm doing the live chat. Cool. So while that's downloading, let's get into the live chat and see what you guys have had to say as well. Kani saying Linda is the second highest wicket taker in the One Day Cup, outperforming all the spinners in the spinners, and also scored some vital runs, not picking even after injury to Kesh is mind-boggling. The Cock, Pavuma, Rassi, Riza, Rickleton, Stubbs, Parnell, Require Forte, Kutsia, Makala, says Sam. Okay, so you guys are already going straight into this and what you guys think your ODI teams are. Let me first start first and foremost with that before I get into the live chat, because I see you guys are already giving your 11s. Let's see the squads and let's see what has happened with regard to the squads. There's also an update on Keshav Maharaj's injury that we did post on Twitter as well to let you guys know what is happening. So if you guys follow us on Twitter, you would have gotten an update. And if you follow us on Facebook, you would have also gotten an update, I think. But we posted it there too. So interesting developments with regards to that, and I hope it goes well. Keshav has consulted a surgeon on Monday and will undergo surgery and will undergo surgical repair for his ruptured Achilles tendon on Friday. So very scary injury, guys. For sometimes it's actually can be quite career ending for some people, and I hope that that's not the case with Keshav. I hope that it's not career ending for him. I hope that he can still play cricket and he still has the ability to be able to play and have a long career, and that it doesn't cause an end to his career early. I really hope that. These injuries particularly are quite sensitive, so I really hope that this isn't as serious. I mean, it is obviously serious, but I hope it doesn't affect him as seriously as it has some athletes in the past. We need him back. I mean, he's a brilliant player, particularly in the test arena. We'll definitely need him back and fully fit. So let's just get into the squads first. So for the first and second ODI, South Africa have selected Temba Bavuma, Quinton de Kock, Tony de Zorzi, Riza Hendricks, Ryan Rickleton, Tristan Stubbs, Rassi van der Dissen. The two spinners are Bjorn Fortuin and Tebrei Shamsi. Tebrei is obviously replacing Keshav Maharaj. Sisanda Magala, Wayne Parnell, and Dede Pekwayo. Lungi Ngidi, Lazard Williams, and Gerald Coetzee. So out of this particular squad, it will be quite tricky to actually pick a team. There are a lot of great players in this squad. Now, we are playing in East London, and generally speaking, East London is quite a good wicket to bat on, but it does have some turn. It usually does have some turn, and the slower bowlers or medium pace bowlers are normally quite successful. I remember when we played against England, Lungi Ngidi was very good on this wicket. So I think with regards to picking your bowlers, I mean, Lungi needs to be there and one of the first names on the team sheet, in my opinion. But when you go with the batters, it will probably be Temba and Quinton that open the batting. And I think Riza should bat at 3. Considering that Riza has been in form and he's also as well, Tony's a contacted player as well, so it's interesting to see Um, but let's say, I think Temba Bavuma, Quentin de Kock, Risa Hendricks, um, and Rassi van der Dussen. I think that's your top four. And then they're going to have a toss up between playing, or they, not really actually. They could play Tony at five, but I think they'll go with maybe Rickleton at five and Tristan at six. And that's your top six. And I think they'll go then with Wayne Parnell at seven, Susanna Magala at eight, Bjorn Fortuyn at nine, um, Lungin Giri or Gerald Kutsia at 10, Lungi Giri at 11, no, Lungi Giri at 10, and then maybe Gerald Kutsia at 11, perhaps, or Lazard Williams. I mean, I'm not really phased between who they pick over there. But I think they'll definitely place Asanda Magala and Wayne Parnell in that middle order. I mean, I would do that. I think they would suit the wicket perfectly, in my opinion, looking at that first ODI. Um, so, yeah, it is quite interesting to see that. What did Lon say? He said, don't Achilles injuries usually last like 9 months to a year, and even then, most Achilles athletes aren't fit. Yeah, that's a very terrible injury to get, and the manner in which he got it was crazy. Correct, Khalid. Remember Santi Cazorla, the former Arsenal player, suffered the exact same injury. Yes, I remember this ruptured Achilles, and was out for almost 2 years. He would come back, and it was never the same. It's 100% true, and I hope that doesn't happen to Keshav. It's quite a dangerous injury. This, I was really sad when I thought that what it was, And out of all the players in the world to this to have happened to, Keshav he's been such a hard worker of his career. Um, he did everything he could to get fit for cricket and to get himself in shape, and then this to happen, and then to give himself to South Africa the way he has and sacrificed. I think it's a sad way to end your career if this does end his career. Considering his age at the moment, it's scary. It will scare me. It scares me a lot. Tishan Goban says weak squad without KG, Anna, Kesh, etc. Brevis needs a call up now. Guys, my take on Deval Brevis. I'm a big fan of his. We brought him on the channel a few times, but I do think we need to be a little bit patient with Deval. We need to allow him to develop at domestic level a little bit more. Pushing him into the team too early can ruin his career completely, because you can still see that he has some issues in his game. He hasn't completely mastered his game as yet, and I think that we need to be a little bit more patient with him and allow him to develop. He's playing some first class cricket at the moment. He got another 50 recently. That was very important, amongst other great performances in the 4-day competition as well. We can't forget that too. You've had the likes of Matthew Kleinveld get 199 without, he was stranded on 199, unfortunately, which was a shame for him. There were some other great performances as well from Matthew Brzezinski. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think Kamani batted beautifully. I think Sibs Makanya batted beautifully. So there's been quite a few great performances this round around, and obviously also Don Ferreira did a bowl, batted beautifully as well. I think also Sia Plaik is brilliant fifer. I think it's his first game for the Warriors, and he bowled beautifully. I remember this kid when he was playing Coke Week, and I saw him bowl there already, and I thought he was fantastic. The way his control is, and the way he puts the ball on a particular spot consistently, fantastic. So, yeah. Again, no emphasis on solving number 7 issues. No, number 7 too high for Parnell and too low for Mulder. If Require has failed to cement his spot. No, Linda is a puzzle. Tex, Dishan is the best batting all rounder in the squad. Who's he talking about? Parnell at 7 is way too high, sadly. The man is 9 at best. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Currently he is. Yeah. Lawrence saying, don't think Kesh will wait 2 years though. The reason why Gazola's comeback was delayed is because he suffered an infection post up. So hopefully all goes well with the up and post up. Yeah, I don't think either. Um, it should be around, but it should be between 6 to 9 months. That's normally how it works. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. We're gonna have to wait and see how long he will be out for. It's a scary one. Let's look at the next squad because there are two for the third ODI as well. Um, they've just all they've done is just added Heinrich Klaassen, Aiden Markin, and David Mill in the batting department. They've added Marco Janssen in the all-rounder department, and that's about it. To the squad. So it's going to be interesting to see that. So based on the squads that have been selected, I would like to hear what you guys think and what squads you would select. So we've got Bernard Malinga saying 6-5 split to Cock, Pavuma, Riza, Rasi van der Dussen, Rickelton, Stubbs, Cornell, Pechlequayo, Kutsia, Shamsi, and Ngidi. I would go with Magala over Pechlequayo personally, particularly at East London. But I can see the reason for Pechlequayo too, because I think he'll also be quite good on that wicket. Let's see if some of the other guys that have selected squads. We've got Sam here that said Kok, Pavuma, Rasi, Riza, Rickelton, Stubbs, Panel, Pechlequayo, Fortain, Kutsia, Magala. De Zorzi should not get direct into 11 because his strike rate quite low as well, as he has not done best in 50 overs. Yeah, they need to ease this Tony in. I would like to see what the mentality is with Tony De Zorzi. Given Aiden rest not good, he should play regularly because he's in form of his life. We need to settle him in ODIs. He is going to be in the third ODI probably. Gonna see some players bat out of position for the first two ODIs. I think my 11 will be Quinton de Kock, Timber, Vuma, Riza, Hendricks, Rassi van der Dussen. I agree with you. Rickelton, I agree with you. Stubbs, I agree with you. I agree with you with Parnell and Magala, Fortain, Kutsia, and Ngidi. That's a spot on team. That's the exact team that I would pick. So, well, good selection in Lawrence. I think that is possibly the best 11 out of the players that have been selected, and I think that's what they probably would go with. But I do see the arguments for Andile Pechlequayo too. It would be nice to see him get his form back again for South Africa. We might even see Stubbs and Riza bowl a few overs to make up for the loss of Markram as the sixth bowler. The only other way would be to play Parnell and Andile and drop a batter, which I don't see. It was a top between Rix and Tony De Zorzi for a spot. I think Rix would be the nod, in my opinion, being the leading run scorer in the One Day Cup and really took the comp to task. Agree with you there. I think Ryan would be the good, right selection from the new guys that have been selected. West Indies should win this easily. No Rabada or Nokia. I don't think it's as easy as you think. I mean, Gidi is a brilliant bowler. Magala is a brilliant bowler. We saw what they did to the likes of England. So, I mean, Magala's been brilliant. It was brilliant against England as well. And they're a much better team than the West Indies. Got a feeling that the West Indies is going to give us a run for our money. I do think it will be a very good game. I don't think it will be easy. And it will be very, very interesting to see the way Rob sets up this team and how he approaches this game. It's a new coach, new environment, new country for him again. Coming back at least from the country where his career almost started. So what's going to be interesting is that he doesn't know a lot of these players anymore. Or he doesn't know a lot of these players. So he's going to have to keep himself familiar with these players, get himself familiar with these players. Justin says, bro, what have Stubbs done to get an ODI call up? I think they're thinking about Stubbs for the future over here. I don't think he's overrated. I just think he needs the right guidance. I think he needs the right coaching to get himself into this arena. I actually do think that Tristan Stubbs' technique and holistic game is a lot more complete than someone like Deelwald. And I know that's a massive statement to maybe make. That's maybe controversial. But I think Stubbs is a lot more familiar with his game and comfortable with his game than Deelwald is at this particular time. I think Deelwald's only 19. We need to be very patient with Deelwald and not try to rush him into international cricket too quickly. I think there are some players that are suffering from that. They've been rushed into international cricket too quickly, and then what happens is that they look out of sorts and they don't look comfortable in the middle. Lawrence, West Indies will be much tougher opponents than they were in the test. They're always very competitive in the white ball format. Couple of exciting players. They got two, Puran, King, and Powell. Texas says Quinny. Khalid, let's start with the selection of the squad. Who were the surprise selections and omissions? I think an omission. Um, I don't actually think there's any major omissions in the ODI squad, to be honest. In my opinion, I think given the fact that KG and Nokia haven't been selected, um, I think they made the right decision with bringing in Dewald. I mean, not Dewald. I'm sorry, Gerald Kutsia. Halungi Ngidi in the ODI format is always dangerous, so I'm happy with Magala getting an opportunity. Um, you could perhaps say someone like Yanaman is a bit unlucky, and I think you could also say that George Linde is a bit unlucky to not make the squad. And I also do think that the reason for Yanaman is perhaps his current form. He hasn't been in the best of form, and he's been struggling a little bit. Across T20 in T20s, it didn't work out for him at the Joburg Super Kings either. He actually got dropped and didn't play another game. So I think that's maybe something that is a little bit sad in my opinion, because I really thought Yanaman was going to take things and take things forward, and his career was going to kick on when became a contracted player. I think Calvareno might perhaps also be a bit unlucky. He's been really unlucky, I think. Um, I know a lot of us on this channel wanted him to be in the test team over someone like Heinrich Klaassen. And some of you wanted Heinrich Klaassen over Calvareno. So it just shows that there is a little bit, there is an argument for both players. So no one's right or wrong. Justin says, Khalid, I read an article on ESPN Cricket and the Brewers might get called up against the Netherlands. There is an opportunity in that because we're going to get through this conversation right now with Rob. SA Cricket Talent or Werner says Justin Stubbs was the second leading run scorer in the last CSA One Day Cup with an average of 60 and a strike rate of 97. Thank you very much for clearing that up. And also, I feel that his game is a lot more secure. He's a lot more comfortable with his game. His technique, I think, is better. He's more complete. He's actually more 360 than Baby AB 360. Let's just be honest with that. Stubbs' game is a lot more 360 than Dewald Brevis. So, and Jordan Herman is another person that someone mentioned. I think we need to be patient with Jordan Herman too. I think we are a bit too quick to want to put players into the Proteas team after one good season in domestic cricket. For me, I think you need at least minimum 3 seasons. You could maybe say 2, but I'll go with 3 seasons of consistency in domestic cricket before you get your call up. I think that's fair, in my opinion. Now, when you have a special talent like Dewald Brevis, Jordan Herman, there could be changes to that particular rule. But I do think overall you need to be able to see some sort of consistency. If you can see a player is highly talented, like Dewald is and Jordan Herman is, you could maybe try and help them to fast track them into the international side. So, for example, with certain players, you can do so. So, like I think Jordan Herman's a person like that, and I think that Dewald Brevis is someone like that. So, I do think that they need to work with them and maybe give them a little bit. If they're not going to give them 2-3 seasons domestically to obviously get themselves to show some consistency, then I want to see them play some SAA games first before they go straight into the Proteas team. You need to be able to tell beforehand whether they are capable of being able to handle the pressures of international cricket. Now, Dewald is a little bit of an anomaly because he's played IPL already, so he's already had that experience of high pressure. But we can still see in his game that there's a little bit of technical issues that he can still work out. For example, playing on the offside as well. It's something that he needs to learn, and also playing against spin is something that he can improve on, and against the swinging ball is something he can improve on. Whereas Jordan Herman looks like quite a complete player already. and I think he is someone that maybe can be pushed into the side a lot quicker. Um, so yeah, let's get the so Kelly's here to join me as well. Welcome to the show, Kelly. Just before we get you started, what's your thoughts on the squad? Now, obviously, there's two squads, but the one is just a little, all it is a bigger squad than the other one, with a couple of names just being added. But what's your thoughts on the squad first and foremost, and who do you think that maybe was unlucky to miss out on this particular ODI squad?
Well, they've obviously, I know Rob is fairly new to the domestic structure, so he's going to want to have a look at the players. So having an expanded squad doesn't actually surprise me. Um, but, you know, they've taken basically, they've added the top three run scorers from the One Day Cup. Um, and then Magala, who I believe Magala was the leading wicket taker in the One Day Cup. Stand corrected if I'm wrong. And then he was added. I know Linda was the second was second in the wickets column, but obviously he missed out. They had Bjorn Fortuin there with Keshav Maharaj, but he's been replaced by Itsbury Shamsi. That's not quite a like for like replacement. So Linda might have reason to feel unlucky. It
Yeah,
might be a more of a logistical choice because they have got a slow left armer there. They might have decided, we're going to go with someone who's already in the squad. Um, because Shamsi is in the T20 squad. Just because of the short turnaround. Because now you're going to have to bring in a non-contracted player. There might be admin involved, other clearances he needs to get, stuff like that. Any number of things could have played a role there. But other than Linda, I don't think that there's much to quibble with in terms of omissions. This series doesn't count for league points, so they may as well use it for Rob to get a feel for the players that he'd like to use, especially some of the younger ones in the new additions, because we've also had some newly contracted players.
yeah. Um, Something I want to ask you though, let's just discuss this a little bit because I mean, Donis makes an interesting point over here, Kelly. He says, "What's the issue with Linda? That's a strange one to be honest. Suddenly falling out of favor with selectors. He's having a really good domestic season. So don't think the mission is on performance. I don't think it's on performance.
Neither do I.
From reports that happened. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys remember out there when I don't remember what series. I think it might be in for New Zealand, where George Linder was. There was a press release that went out around his wedding when he had his wedding, and there was a press release out and saying that Linder wasn't selected because he's not available because he's having his wedding. Um, it didn't seem that way because he was playing for the Cobras just like a couple of days after his wedding, or the day after his wedding, he played. So there must have been some sort of beef between him and maybe Victor, or they might have had a conversation, and maybe George didn't like being omitted from the team when he wanted to play, or whatever the case may be. So there might have been something that went down there, that maybe made them change their mind on selecting him in the first place. I'm just speculating over here. What do you think, maybe Kelly, that could have gone wrong with regards to this? I mean, it can't be because
Okay.
of his performances.
No, I don't think it's because of his performances. It's there's a bit more to picking an 11 than just picking the best 11 players. I mean, you've got to think about the chemistry within the team itself. So I'm not going to claim to know what he is like within a team environment. I'm not going to say that this is exactly, what went down. I just know that this has happened previously, where players have been left out of an 11 because the they just don't fit either the plans, they don't provide enough balance, they or they aren't good for that specific team environment.
It's interesting.
It's just, you're trying to select a squad out of, you know over probably 100 or more cricketers,
Mhm.
and there are going to be people who are going to be unlucky.
Do you think it could possibly be because they want to play the spinners that they want to play are maybe number nines and number tens rather than number fives or number sixes, given that you want to play six batters and then play the two all rounders in obviously Wayne Parnell and Susana Magala at 7 and 8 perhaps. Do you think that
Yeah,
played a role in it maybe as well?
I wouldn't class Wayne and CC. I'd have them there for their bowling, to be honest. I think George is a better
Better,
batsman
yeah.
than the two of them. But the thing is, he might well, it depends on what lineup they go with. In the first two, I should bring up that squad again. In the
I'll bring it up for
first
you.
two, this is the first one. You see, they could well have used him there,
Yeah,
because
they could have.
in my view, like, you are going to have to put a reason now in the middle order. There's no Klaasen. Stubbs will almost certainly play, but I can't see him batting. And look, Rickleton opens in one-day cricket, so look, they might open with Timber and Quinton, have Tony at 3, Reza 4, Ryan 5, Tristan 6. But then there's Rassi, so you fit him in there as well. Even though I don't think Rassi necessarily has anything to prove. I'd rather the players that haven't had an opportunity in the ODIs get the shots. You see, they could have possibly used him there. Because there's literally there's one attacking batsman, and, well, out and out attacking middle order batsman there, just in that particular squad. But the thing is, I don't know what the long-term plans would be. All, like, the players that have been introduced into that squad are either there because they've already been there, or there is some sort of long-term plan involved with the newbies, like Ryan Rickleton and Tristan Stubbs are now contracted. There's clearly a long-term plan for them.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
know Marwan Creel saying over here the non-selection has got to do with quota. It's
it
got
has
nothing to
not,
do with, because if
because
you look at the
they
squad, there's 9 players of
we
color.
we had initially had, it had an extra player of color.
Yeah, we've
There's
got like
no
9 players of color in that first 11, so it's got nothing to do
there's
with
there's
that.
got nothing to do with that. Um, it's it might have been it might I mean, we've gone over the various options. I mean, they could have used. I say personally, they could have used him there, because I think something's missing from the batting lineup. You're pretty much putting all of your firepower on Quinton at the top, and then Tristan in middle order. So you could use a more attacking number 7 than Wayne Parnell, for example.
Yeah.
You can bat, but he's not your traditional lower order batsman, like your attacking batsman. So the coaches will obviously have their reasons. And I'm going to respect those reasons because usually they would have to do with the makeup of the squad.
Yeah.
Because this had nothing to do with transformation. Numbers were fine. Um, it's it's obviously there's some other reason, and people can speculate all they want, but the fact of the matter is, too much speculation is probably does more harm than good. Because someone's always going to miss out in a cricket match. You only have 11 players.
Brilliant comment.
Yeah,
That said exactly what you
exactly.
said. If they
Omissions are
were,
part of the game. Omissions
yeah.
are part of the game. Like all players
Um,
go through that.
and I've always asked everybody, just can't we rather just support the players that have been selected
Yeah.
because it's not their fault that they have been selected. Kanye also says, Khalid, your thoughts on Shams in ODIs? He has never performed well in ODIs, even when he is in form. Kelly, we were talking about this. I'll
Mm.
let you do it because you actually told me this information. So give me them your thoughts on Shams and why they picked him over maybe taking someone else.
Well, I already said that Shamsi is in the squad. He's a contracted player. There is a document from CSA that explains the national pathway. But in brief, if a non-contracted player is selected, there are certain prerequisites that need to be completed before he can be named in the squad. And there's such a short turnaround that if a player is not on the list of prospective selections, if you go outside of that list, then it could take a lot longer because it's got to go through the director of cricket. There's other processes to follow. You go through your fitness training with the chief medical officer. It can only be that, like, all the national players have already done that. That's one thing. But now Shamsi and ODIs, I'm not sure if Shamsi will play. It's probably going to depend on where they're playing.
Mm,
Um, might get a go in Poch. I don't know about East London. East London is a very small ground, and it doesn't always mean it could change. I mean, I haven't seen much cricket there lately. It could have changed. It's not always friendly to the spinner. So if Shamsi has an off day, he can travel. Yeah, you can travel right down that hill next to Buffalo Park.
mm,
Because I find that Shamsi is actually at his best when you introduce him just after you've taken a wicket, possibly you know close to the 20th over. That's usually when he performs best. If you introduce him to take a wicket with set batsmen, and because as a wrist spinner, he's not going to do a holding job.
yeah.
They will try and attack him.
Mhm.
But then again, West Indies, those players, I'm not sure how experienced they are at playing wrist spin as well. That might have been a consideration why they take a chance with Shamsi. But I still think Bjorn Fortuin might get the nod ahead of him. Conditions dependent.
Okay. Kelly, this is the part of the show where we're going to react to some clips that I took from Rob Walters' press conference. I don't know how many of you guys have watched it. So let's just get into that straight away. And there's some interesting points that were made. The ones that we're going to play for you guys, I'm going to say Rob's objectives, and then the way he wants to play, expectations of Rob from Enoch, and then the way he wants to play cricket, and then a little bit on Aiden and Temba. And then there's a particular clip that he speaks about Faf. And then also they mentioned some contract splits, which is something that is very interesting that I would like to see down the future. So let's start with the first one, which is Rob's objectives going forward.
To add on to that, you've heard it from the big boss's mouth in terms of what the objectives are. Beyond that, I'll say that time and time again, we want to broaden the base of players that are playing international cricket. We want to give some experience over the next 4 years, and ideally, by the time we reach a World Cup here in South Africa, that we'll have a side that's fully representative of the country, but players that have also represented their country a number of times before that World Cup starts.
And then let's just get the other one on expectations of Rob, because that was actually before this one.
Mine is pretty simple. Obviously, is to win the World Cup. I mean, ultimately, obviously, the big one is 2027. So we can't afford to lose sight of 2027 World Cup. But in saying so, there are opportunities, including this year, to try and win one of the ICC events. There's an ICC event every single year. So yeah, there's no pressure on him, to try and win this year. Obviously, if we do, I mean, that would be a hell of a job. That would be very, very special. But again, even if we do win this year, we don't want to lose sight of obviously the bigger picture of the home World Cup. And we got to ensure that, together, we all work together to ensure that, we build up the pool of players that we believe, will be part of the bigger picture as well. So yes, I can't really go into much detail in terms of performance agreements and all of that, but ultimately, yes, is to win the World Cup, and he's excited about the opportunities and actually what also lies ahead.
Okay, so it's pretty simple, pretty clear. He wants a World Cup out of Rob Walter, and this is going to be a long road to that. He's not necessarily expecting him to win the 2023 World Cup in India. He said it would be nice, obviously, Enoch said, but the 2027 World Cup is what he has his eye on. And that maybe is the reasons why the likes of Stubbs has gotten a contract,
Yeah.
and the
Ryan.
younger guys, and Ryan as well, because they have their eye on that 2027 World Cup and building these players till then. What's your thoughts
Tony
on
as
the
well.
way Tony as well? Yes.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Rob and what he said in that particular clip?
I liked what he said. He reaffirmed his commitment to making a squad, to building a squad that was both had experience in international cricket and was fully representative of the country, which is important. You need and that sort of also aligns with Shuka. You do need those coaches to be aligned also then with director of cricket. They can't have different objectives. That was also clear in the expanded squad. They've expanded the contracted players from 16 to 20 to allow for a few more younger players. And year on year that'll probably build.
Mm-hmm.
Because I expect players like Bjorn Fortuin will be about 32, which is peak for a spinner. Then Marco Jansen got a contract. He's going to be 26. Stubbs will only be 26, and Ryan Rickleton will be about 30. So there's a little bit of a core there building. The fast bowlers as well, also pretty much all within that range. Lungi will be about 30, and KG will be about 31. So, and then there's Joel Coetzee will probably come in eventually as well. They can probably only give so many contracts. And it also depends on the players that they want to keep within their system. So I think giving the younger players contracts early would probably allow CSA a little bit more of a say in how much cricket they play, and whether they get to play all formats, and then how much experience they get.
Mm-hmm.
Will also prevent them from playing too much cricket.
Yeah, spot on. Okay, let's move on to the next way and next thing that he had to say. This is about the style of play and the way he wants to play the game.
Okay, I just want to ask you about the way forward, the thinking, because we've been through a couple of heartbreaks in World Cups, especially in the T20 format as well as the ODIs, and you've got the ODI World Cup coming up very soon in India. So what's your thought process behind the way you want to play the game and your integration of youngsters going forward in the future?
I suppose start with the second part of the question. From an integration point of view, you've seen a few new faces in these squads, so that's ultimately part of the process to broaden the base of players that have got international experience. Given that the World Cup is this year, it seemed the most logical time to start that now. As far as how we want to play the game, I think you've probably got a little window into it against England. Certainly that was a blueprint for how we want to move forward with the way we play the game. and we'll just be continuing on that. Obviously, the task for the new younger guys coming into the side will be to find their way in that brand and bring their own set of skills onto the park.
So it's good to hear that that he wants to integrate youngsters into the team and he has to start now. That's what I love the most about what he said there,
Yeah.
because I've been hopping on about this for years and years and years, saying that our transitional phases have been poor. And if you are putting a core group of youngsters, like you mentioned, the guys that are going to be that certain age by the time they get to
Yeah.
the 2027 World Cup, they'll be learning that experience now in this World Cup. They're going to get
If they make this World Cup, those
yeah,
youngsters playing in and then playing in their second World Cup at home, it would be a tremendous coup. Like if they perform well enough to make it, because there are some guys in the squads who won't be playing in that 2027 World Cup, or possibly won't be playing.
yeah.
So
But it's an opportunity for them to grow now during this West Indies series, get some experience, be able to understand what the one day game is about, how the style of play, so that when we do integrate youngsters later on after the 2023 World Cup, they slot right in next to these guys that are now have gained experience by the time you get to 2027. So you can mix up your experience and youngsters consistently, and it is something that's repeatable. It's a blueprint that's
yeah.
repeatable, and that's what I enjoy about this particular way. What's your thoughts on it, Kenny?
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of getting them into the system. Obviously not too early, but the ones that they have picked are pretty technically sound. They've performed at a domestic level, and they will still be pretty, well, not pretty young, but they'll probably be at their peak or close to their peak by 2027. So they'd be pretty much the right age, the age that you want. So it's, and I like the fact that he did speak about integration, definitely giving them a chance to make this World Cup. It's something for them to aim at. You know, they're not just in the squad to make up the numbers. And I suppose also, you know, the guys who got the contracts pretty early, which is not necessarily the norm. I mean, Marco Jansen played a whole season before he got one. But I think that's also an element of the integration. He's making it very clear that there is a pathway for these younger players, and it's not going to be, you know, over-reliance on experience. He wants to see what they can bring, asking them to play their game, and find a way for that to fit into the style, rather than, you know, putting square pegs in round holes, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Let's go on to Aiden and Temba, obviously the two captains of the two white ball teams. Let's hear what Rob had to say about this as well.
Hi guys. I guess maybe Rob and Enoch can both just talk to us about your thinking behind appointing Aiden Markram, and then also with leaving Tim Bovima out of the T20 squad. What's the kind of thinking behind that?
I'll take it one. Look, Aiden obviously has shown himself to be a leader over a period of time now. Obviously, his most recent success with the Sunrisers stands out. So it seemed like just a logical progression really into the leadership of the national side. He hasn't been there before, but I think he's matured a lot as a player and as a leader since then. So yeah, I mean, Aiden's certainly a leader in the group, has been for a long time. As I said, it seemed like a logical progression for him to take over the reins. Yeah, as for Temba missing out, I think that's, you know, purely a T20 performance-based decision. And my job now is to work with him to get him back into the side. So that will certainly be one of our focuses.
I like that because I'm just going to give my thoughts first, Kelly, and then you can go. So what I like about this is that first and foremost, okay, yes, Aiden. I thought that was the logical decision, given that the way he was, how he played in T20 cricket recently, the way he performed in the World Cup, I think was brilliant under pressure, as well as for SEC, the way he took that team to victory. I like him as a captain, especially when he has an environment around him of players that will listen to him, support him, and can complement him. So I think that the environment is so important to Aiden's success. And I think that was brilliant from that perspective. I like that Rob was very clear on Temba. He said performance based, and I'm going to work with him to try and get him back in. That's a very important line, because I think that that's his mentality with any player that gets dropped or gets left out of the side. And I hope that Shukri has the same mentality. I hope they align over there with regards to that. With certain players like Alvarena or other players that are going to be dropped from teams, I hope that there's a pathway to try and get them back into the sides. What's your thoughts on that? And Aiden and Timba and Rob's thoughts on those two?
Well, firstly, I'll start with the last point there. I know Rob has been working with Lungi as well, since during the test series when he wasn't obviously in the squad. He had been working with Rob, which is encouraging. And I don't like to think the door is closed on any player. I think if they perform, then they should at least be considered. Obviously, coaches will have their reasons for picking one player above another or not including certain players. But if a player is dropped, I don't necessarily think the door should be closed. You can't say that he's not a T20 player, because he's a very good ODI player. So there's no reason to assume that he can't play T20s.
Yep.
And then as far as Aiden goes, obvious choice for captain for me, for the T20 side. He was brilliant with SEC. But I think also SEC had it was a great environment for him. I've always thought that he's fantastic with younger players. He's not one of those players who comes across as having much of an ego. He doesn't need to say too much. It's really all in leading from the front, the body language, the sort of attitude that he plays with, and it rubs off on the rest of his team, and it did that. It took a few games for them to gel, but they gelled extremely well. And he's also formed relationships with a couple of younger players now from that side.
Mhm.
Because if he's going to be captain of the T20 side and he is one of the younger players, it's not inconceivable that one day he will captain the one-day side, because Temba's a bit older than him. He's already formed relationships with guys like Tristan Stubbs and Jordan Hammond. They're used to being under his leadership. And there's also an element of trust between him and players that he's captained. So I think that's also important. So he's, and now that he seems to be in an environment that he enjoys. He's making runs. Looks like he's enjoying his cricket. He seems to really enjoy the environment with AD and Bakes at AD Burrow and Bucky Abrams at SEC, and he seems to be flourishing as well, opening the batting with Shukri. He also made runs in the one day. He got himself out before he got 50 in the one game, I think. But he looks good. He looks like he's enjoying his cricket. He looks like he's in an environment that suits him.
Okay, let's move on. I see someone asking about the IPL. Enoch confirmed that the players will be available for the Netherlands series and not go to the IPL. Won't be at the IPL during that series. So that's a very positive thing. The ones that are in the squad at least. So they won't be going. Let's go and to the FAF.
Thanks for that. If I may just jump in there. Look, there were conversations, obviously before the World Cup, with then obviously the selection panel and the coach, and then we did conclude obviously those conversations in terms of the way forward. But We've always been open to to talks with our sort of freelance players, and having spoken to obviously the coach Rob, he is very much interested to resume those conversations and see how best we can actually all of us work together moving forward. And from a cricket soccer point of view, we're happy to engage, and let's see how we find the best way forward.
Brilliant. That's what we wanted to hear as fans. I think, Kelly, go take it away, because I think I'm really happy that they're going to complete.
Yeah,
At least.
it sounds like they are going to start using freelance contracts for certain players. There's obviously you have to find a middle ground with these, because you don't want your young players to run off and become free agents before they play much red ball crickets or test crickets. You sort of want them to develop into the best players that they can be, and those leagues don't necessarily always do that. If you look at Riley Rousseau, he's got the same issues that he had when he was 23, 24. He still has them now. So I don't think jumping from league to league necessarily makes you the best player that you can be. But for guys like Faf, who have played so much cricket and played so much international cricket, I think it's not a bad idea to have freelance contracts where they can play for South Africa in a particular format. There's probably going to be some provisos that they perhaps play X amount of games in that format in South Africa. But yeah, it's something that I'd certainly think is a good idea, because there are some players who are suited to just one format. They are perhaps slightly older than the younger developing players. They may well have played for South Africa for quite a number of games. I'm thinking of someone like Shamsi, for example. Shamsi plays quite a few leagues. So instead of giving him, a white ball contract, you could always give him freelance contracts.
Interesting.
It's just, I do think that there needs to be some sort of baseline that a player needs to meet in terms of international crickets and experience before they are eligible for a freelance contract. Because, the last thing I want is someone like Ferreira, for example, running off, say he has a good IPL and deciding he wants to be a free agent. And then you sort of have to clamor.
Interesting point.
You have to clamor to get them back. And so this is it's a sort of a delicate balance, but I think it's a move in the right direction, because it will also possibly take the weight of CSA in terms of spending money on full contracts if a player is definitely only going to play one format.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to do the contract splits for now. I think that's going to be a different show. I want to actually go into depth with that and try to understand what's going on over there. There is, though, a quote that I want to read from the same press conference. I didn't get the clip for it, but it's on young players like Dewald Brewers and what's going to be happening with them. And Rob said, Dewald is in the category of a lot of young players in our system. We're going to have to find opportunities for them below the Proteas, but just above provincial level. The tournament SA20 would have given Dewald insight about where he needs to develop in his game, along with many others. There's an X factor there that is exciting, but we need to give him the foundation and the pathway to grow to be ready internationally. I love that Rob thinks like me. Well, I think like Rob.
I 100% agree with him as well. I think it would have been preferable if Dewald had not played IPL before first class cricket. I think the weight of expectation became a bit much. And the thing is, people find you out before you have that luxury of having a little bit of mystery about you. So people have discovered weaknesses in his technique and have exploited it much earlier than they should have. If he had just started out playing domestic cricket and had his first season playing red ball cricket, and possibly ironed out some of those technical deficiencies, because it's not something, that you can't fix. And then, made his way, up the ranks, possibly to the T20 leagues, the SA20. I think it would have been a bit easier for him, because I saw during the SA20 he looked a little low on confidence towards the end.
Yeah,
Just his
definitely.
demeanor when he was batting.
Definitely.
And I don't want to see a player like that. I don't want to see him in an environment where he feels he hasn't got a voice. And I don't want him to be in an environment where he doubts himself. That's not something that's healthy for younger players.
Yeah.
I think if he had a season before he played that, he might have, developed that self-confidence and, a bit more of it's not so much a thicker skin, but the ability to, take ownership of the game out in the middle. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember watching him, Kagiso Rabada was batting. And now I know, like, in the team environments, if you are the recognized batsman who's in and you've got a tail ender who's swiping and missing, you need to go down the track and talk to
On
him
the
and tell
strike.
him, don't do that. Take the single, give me the strike. But he didn't. And I feel that it was probably because, it's Kagiso Rabada. He's super experienced. He's one of South Africa's best cricketers. And at that stage, towards the end of that tournament, Dewald himself was possibly a little low on confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be in the position where Aiden and Tristan Stubbs were banging together against DSG, where Aiden had most of the runs, but Tristan decided he wanted the strike for the last over. But Aiden was just like trusted him with it, ran sharp twos off Yorkers, and they ended up getting quite a lot of that last over with Tristan facing all 6 balls. Never mind that Aiden was already on more than 50.
Yeah.
He was then back, but they trusted each other.
Yeah.
The game management was better.
There was too many superstars in that team for
Yeah.
Deelbach, I think. Like
Yeah,
we,
that's why I sort of worry about him. Maybe, well, about both of them sort of going to Mumbai Indians. Like,
Mm.
like they're very young.
You see, I think it's different. The expectations on Deelbach in South Africa for Mumbai, Cape Town was a lot bigger. He was on all the posters. He was South African, and it's a South African tournament. So I think the pressure on him there is a lot more than at Mumbai Indians, where he can just be a youngster in
Possibly
the team.
so.
He can be a
Yeah, but
youngster.
yeah.
There's more pressure on the Indian players in that team, like Sky, like Rohit Sharma, like
Mm.
all of those guys, than there is on Deelbach, because it's obviously going to be the Indians that support the Indians that are going to. There's going to be a lot more pressure on them than on Deelbach. So I
Yeah,
think
I do
his
worry
role
about
is
the hype.
different there.
I do worry about the hype,
The
because the
hype
hype
was the
was the
problem.
problem. The hype was the problem.
Yeah.
Because it creates a weight of expectation that no young player needs.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
and he was getting hype with scoring 30. So you like, when it started, all I wanted to say was sort of relax and give him time, because I mean, he isn't the first sort of young player to kind of be noticed. It's just the first young player to be noticed straight out of the, on like a greater scale. There have been younger players in South Africa who have been noticed and have played for, say, invitational sides at 19, but they've still taken a few years to get to peak development. Like Matthew Britsky played for an SA invitational side at 19, 5 years ago.
Also traveled to the Proteas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, he wasn't ready then, and I'm sure that he knew it. But it's taken him a few years to develop his game, and he's only 24. It might not take Devil, that long, but that's generally the age when batsmen start to come into their own. Because Tony did. He's had good seasons before, but he looks like he's batting with a better mentality. Ryan took a few seasons. They may average over 40, but there is semi-pro cricket there, which Matthew Bretsky also didn't have. So if you ever look at his average, bear that in mind. By the way, he pretty much played for the Warriors his entire career.
Yeah.
But like with Josh Richards, also there's also a degree of semi-pro cricket.
Yeah.
He's also a good option, but that semi-pro and franchise split for some players needs to be looked at.
Yes, it does. And
Yeah.
it was something that Cricket Archive used to do. They used to split. That's why I subscribed to them in the first place. Cricket Archive used to split up the semi-pro and the 4 day, or the semi-pro and the 4 day games. So, for example, they would have the franchises scores and average and number of games, and they'll have the Western Province, for example, or EP, whatever, or KZN's separate. So you could split it up and see it. But now that it's gone back to provinces, they've mixed it up again,
It
and now it's
looks,
all confusing.
yeah. Andrew Sampson would be able to help you there.
Yeah, I know he will be able to help
He
in there.
splits them.
Yeah.
Lawrence made a good point here about Clyde Fortain being hyped to be one of the next best things, but he is now starting to put in decent performances at domestic level at 28. That's not unusual. Each player to their own.
Yeah.
Because
Everybody
you're never
develops at their own pace.
yeah. You never look at Mike Hussey. Well, he was making runs, but I mean, you can make your debut late. Faf made his debut later.
And it doesn't mean that the player's been dropped, that they're never going to see the Proteas again. That's why I don't want you guys to maybe get on the Yanaman trail and be like sad. He can come back and improve and still come back. The same with Calvarena. He still has age on his side. So he shouldn't be disheartened by this. He should come back because, I mean, someone like Klassen, his career, he only has a couple of more years in him with regards to his career. And if he doesn't perform at this age, then he can.
Yeah.
The chance of him being dropped is a lot higher.
I have a feeling that if he doesn't perform in December, that may well be, the start of a death knell in terms of the test side. Just because I'm not too impressed with the way he has been batting, his approach, his mentality. I thought Fionn Mulder went out there with a better frame of mind and supported Temba better. It looked like Klaasen was just batting to bat or batting for himself. He can't bat like it's a one-dayer. It's just like Ryan can't bat like it's a domestic game. He needs to take a leaf out of Tony's book and apply himself a little better. I mean, he looked great for the 20 odd that he scored in the first innings, but the second innings he looked a bit lost.
Yeah.
And it's unlike him. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, guys, I'm going to call the show right now. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to do a couple of things for me, please. Please subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, and also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen, as well as in the description. Also help us grow and promote South African cricket by becoming a Patron today. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. And go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all regular updates.
Is this the corner cooler from Eastern Province?
Where we go?
On the comments, sorry.
I'm not 100% sure.
Only he can agree. I'd like to see he's a spinner, he used to play for EP.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
not
see
a
that.
common name.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is.
Okay, brilliant.
Good to see he's still interested.
Yeah, brilliant to see that. And thank you for the support, everyone. Thank you, Kelly, for coming on the show. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another, or hopefully Either Thursday after. Actually, I think you'll probably see me Thursday after the game, to give you guys a review. I think I need a break to recover. It's been a hectic 4 weeks for me, over a month. So yeah, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out.
Bye, guys.